Hello everyone, in this video I will do a breakdown of the entire gear system in Where Winds Meet, how to upgrade your character and become stronger. You can access everything about your gear and build from the develop menu. Here we have three tabs, abilities, gear and talents. We will go over all of them from left to right in the order of the most important to the least important and explain what everything means. Starting off with the abilities tab, this is where you have your martial arts, inner ways and mystic skills. There is a key distinction that you have to understand between martial arts and the weapons equipped on the gear tab. These are theoretically different elements of your build. Martial arts are essentially the weapon skills that you are using, and there can be multiple martial arts for the same weapon class. For example, you can see that I have equipped the Nameless Sword and Nameless Spear martial arts, and on the gear tab I have a sword and a spear equipped. Now if I go and change my Nameless Sword martial art to the Strategic Sword martial art, I can do that freely because the Strategic Sword art still uses a sword, which I already have equipped on my gear tab. However, if I change my Nameless Sword martial art to something that does not use a sword, for example Infernal Twin Blades, the game will not let me do this until I change my equipped sword weapon to a dual blade weapon. This is because your equipped martial arts have to be matching your equipped weapons on the gear tab, even though they are separate systems. There are currently 7 weapon classes in the game, with more coming up in the future. These are the sword, spear, fan, maw blade, dual blade, umbrella and rope dart. When looking at a specific martial art, we can see multiple elements on the right side. First, you have the martial arts role, such as melee DPS, healer or tank, and the path, which in this case is Bell Strike Splendor. Next, you have the active skills, marked in yellow color. These are the two main abilities of your martial art that you will be using most of the time. You can select them to see more details about their effect. Here, you can also see if you have any inner way equipped that corresponds to this ability. Next, you have your dual weapon skill, which represents your quick swap ability that switches to your other weapon and deals some damage in the process. On the right side next to your active skills, you have your light and your charge attacks. Your light attack is your main damage dealer when your skills are on cooldown, and your heavy or charged attack is your other unique ability, which you can use to deal more damage or perform special actions depending on your martial art. For example, the heavy attack for the Panacea fan is actually a healing ability. Below the skills you have 2 additional buttons called Martial Arts Talents and Basic Martial Arts. Martial Arts Talents are essentially the key passives for your martial arts that can boost your damage and other important stats. These are unlocked and leveled up automatically when you perform a level breakthrough for your martial art, which is dependent on your solo mode level. Each martial art has 5 talents that can be upgraded numerous times, increasing their effects. Now you might be wondering, what does the percentage under martial arts talents mean? If you open the talents list, you can see that most of them have an effective percentage below their name. This is actually the scaling of the talent based on various character attributes or stats. If you select any talent, it will tell you what the cap is for that talent. For example, the Chi Struggle Enhancement talent of my Nameless Sword says that it will reach the maximum damage increase at 1000 physical attack. And in parentheses it shows me the current physical attack I have, which is 967. This means that I need 32 more physical attacks to reach 100% efficiency with this talent. The percentage on the Martial Arts Talents button represents the average effective percentage of your 5 talents, so in order to reach 100%, you need all of your 5 talents to be at 100%. If you are below 100%, it means you have to improve those required stats to also improve your overall build. So just follow the list of talents and see which stats you need to increase. Let's talk about Martial Arts Breakthrough really quick. This is essentially a level cap increase, and it scales with your solo mode level, meaning your martial arts level cannot exceed your character level. When you perform a martial arts breakthrough, some of your talents will also increase in tier. The basic martial arts are essentially all the possible skills or combos for that martial art, besides what we already discussed. You have the dodge, jump, block, airborne attacks, dash attacks and so on. One last important thing before we move on, let's talk about paths, because this is a crucial system to understand. If you look at any martial art, you will see an icon next to its name. This represents the path of the martial art, and you will notice that there are currently 2 martial arts for each path. If you select the path name under the martial art on the right side, you will see the full list of paths. There are 4 major paths and 6 minor paths in total. The 4 major paths are Bell Strike, Stone Split, Silk Bind, and Bamboo Cut. The 6 minor paths are Bell Strike Splendor, Bell Strike Umbra, Stone Split Might, Silk Bind Jade, Bamboo Cut Wind, and Silk Bind Deluge. You will notice that some paths have 2 minor paths, while others only have 1. This is because more paths will be added in future updates, so things will balance out. If you select any path in the list, you will see a ton of information about it. On the Profile tab, you will see a brief description of the path, telling you how the playstyle works and showing you a video, demonstration, and a chart for the path playstyle. On the Combination tab, it will tell you all the recommended martial arts, gear set, arsenal, inner ways, and tuning attributes you should use for this path. If you select Set as Goal, all of these components will be automatically tracked for you, making it easier to see what content you have to farm to complete your build. On the Challenge tab, there are various challenges to complete with the specific path equipped that give you various rewards. It is recommended to combine 2 martial arts that have the same path to get the most potential out of your build. Of course, the game allows you to use any martial arts combination you want. For example, you can combine a DPS martial art with a healing one, no problem. However, the game has many incentives for you to use 2 martial arts of the same path. If you go back to the martial arts talents menu, for any martial art you will see that the last 2 talents at the bottom are called Path Attribute Up and Attribute Attack Damage Up. These are unique for all major paths in the game. For example, if we look at my Nameless Sword talents, I have the Bell Strike Attribute Up talent, which gives me Bell Strike Attack and Bell Strike Penetration. My Attribute Attack Damage Up talent says that my Bell Strike attacks deal 50% bonus damage. Whenever you see a stat on an item or a skill that mentions a path name, that means it will only be effective when you use a martial art of that path. For this reason, if you use 2 martial arts of the same path, you can understand that you get a major damage increase when using either of the 2 weapons. When you use 2 martial arts from 2 different paths, you are essentially losing some damage or stats because of that. We will dive more into this when we get to the gear page. I will now give you a short breakdown of all the 6 paths and what playstyle each of them fits the most. Bell Strike Splendor is a melee DPS path that has good all-around stats with great mobility. Pick this if you want something that is good everywhere and it's easy to play. Bell Strike Umbra is a melee DPS path which is similar to Bell Strike Splendor but sacrifices some mobility and survivability for more DPS. Pick this if you want a flashy playstyle that can stack up a ton of damage over time. Stone Split Might is the only melee tank path which focuses on shields, damage reduction and crowd control. Pick this if you want to be a tank. Silk Bind Jade is the only ranged DPS path which focuses on dealing damage from a distance and moving around a lot, with some good crowd control as well. Pick this if you want to be a ranged DPS that kites enemies and deals a ton of damage while flying around. Bamboo Cut Wind is another melee DPS path which focuses on dealing a ton of damage at close range in a short amount of time and also has a lot of mobility. Pick this if you enjoy the dual blades fast attacks playstyle and want a ton of DPS. Silk Bind Deluge is the only healing path which focuses on healing yourself and your allies, reviving and providing buffs. Pick this if you want to play a support role. Choosing a main path does not mean you are stuck with it for the rest of the game. You can have multiple paths maxed out on your character and you can change paths at any time, but it will require much more grinding to maintain them. Now that we are done with martial arts, let's move on to the gear tab to talk about items, and then we will circle back to inner ways and mystic skills. On the gear tab is where you can equip, upgrade, tune items, enhance your gear and use the arsenal and Divinecraft systems to further boost your power level. Let's start with the actual gear system. If you select any gear piece here, you'll be taken to the gear menu. Here you have all of your equipped and unequipped items. Each item can come in 3 rarities: rare, epic and legendary. We don't have legendary rarity yet on global since it unlocks at tier 71, but we can talk about the other 2. The rarity of the item decides how many tuning attributes the item can have on it and if it can be attuned or not. Rare items can have up to 3 tuning attributes, epic items can have up to 5 with attunement, and legendary items can have up to 6 with attunement. Items also come with a base attribute depending on the item type. All weapons come with physical attack, disc and pendants come with min and max physical attack, and the armor pieces all come with max HP and physical defense. You will also notice that each item has a mastery score. This is decided by the total values of the base attributes plus the tuning attributes. While generally speaking a higher mastery item will be better than a lower mastery one, you have to look at the actual attributes and see if they are good for your build or not. More on that later. All items also have a gear tier level, which is essentially scaling with your solo mode level, aka your character level cap. The gear tier is normally 4 levels behind your character level and will always be like that. You will also notice a bow and thumb ring on the right side. These don't impact your overall build as you don't really use these for dealing damage in combat, but you should still upgrade them to increase your martial mastery. Gear also has durability, and you can repair items either from this screen or from your bag. Items can also come in various item sets, which are indicated by an icon on the item and in the item description. This is extremely important because most of the item sets in the game are designed for a specific path, which we discussed earlier in the video. On the path guide screen, you will see which item sets are recommended for each path. Weapons come in their own sets and armor comes in their own set, so you will normally have 2 item sets active at a time. Since item sets are made of 2 and 4 piece effects, you can theoretically combine multiple sets, but this is not recommended because the actual set effect is only active at 4 pieces. You can farm specific item sets in all challenge modes as they will give you chests where you can choose specific sets from, or they will give you the items from a set directly. You can check the rewards list to see which challenge gives you what sets. Each path has its own recommended item sets, and starting with tier 61, we will get another 2 item sets that can work with any path. Now let's talk about tuning and attunement, which are crucial systems to improve your build. If you look at any item, you will see it has a small white dot on it. This represents the number of tuning attributes it has. All items drop with one random tuning attribute, and then you have to use the tuning system to add more. When you perform attunement on an item, the white dots change to a flower symbol to signify that you have reached the maximum possible number of attributes on that item. If we select a random item and press the tune button, we will be taken to the tuning screen. On the left side, you can see the maximum possible number of tuning attributes that this item can have, the last one being the attunement attribute. On the right side, you can consume materials or items to perform tuning and add more attributes. Keep in mind that you can only use items of the same tier as tuning materials. The rarity of the item you use as material will affect the amount of tuning experience you gain. You can see on the left side that you have a threshold you need to reach in order to add each of the tuning attributes. This threshold starts with 20 for the first attribute, then goes up to 60 and 100 for the next 2. Once you reach the maximum tuning experience required, you will then get all the tuning attributes on the item when you press the tune button. You can, of course, apply only one attribute at a time and then go farm more materials for the rest of them. When you look at items that can be used as tuning materials, there are 3 categories of them. Regular items, items that give you increased experience when used as tuning materials, and items that guarantee either epic or legendary attributes when used as tuning materials. You can see which type of items they are by the default attribute they drop with. If it says provides increased experience or when used as a tuning material the next tune affix is guaranteed to be purple or above, then you should consider using these as tuning materials to make the item that you are tuning better and faster. Ideally, if you want to min-max and get the best possible items, you would have to save up 3 of the items that guarantee a legendary attribute when tuning, and use those on a single item that has a good default attribute to get the best possible rolls. When it comes to attunement, this becomes available when an epic or above item already has the maximum possible of 5 or 4 attributes from tuning, at which point you can use attunement to add the last and final attribute. When an item is ready for attunement, you will have the option to select an attuning path, which coincides with the martial arts paths we talked about earlier in the video. For weapons, you can't choose a path since the only option is the general path, but for the rest of the items you can choose any of the 6 available paths. Here you should pick the recommended path, which is the same as your currently equipped path. For attunement, you will need a material called Attunement Stone, which can be obtained from all the challenge modes in the game, except some of them have a chance to drop it, while others give you a guaranteed drop. Hero's Realm will give you 1 guaranteed Attunement Stone per boss kill, meaning 2 guaranteed per week. Attunement stones also correspond to the item tier and your solo level, meaning that there is a different stone for each item tier starting with tier 51, so you can't use a tier 51 attunement stone for tier 56 items. Now let's talk about the actual attributes. These also come in different rarities from rare to legendary, and they represent the quality of the value of the attribute. If you roll a legendary attribute, it means it rolled in the highest possible value range. There is a large variety of possible attributes that can roll, so I won't go into detail about that, but what you have to know is that when an attribute has the keyword recommended next to it, it is perfect for a specific build path. When an item is recommended, it means that it increases the power of your martial arts talents and your skills, which is what makes it recommended in the first place. This means that in the best case scenario, for an epic item to be perfectly rolled, you will need to have all 5 attributes rolled in legendary quality and have the recommended tag on all of them. You can check what possible attributes can roll when using Attunement by pressing the View Tune Skills button, which will show you the possible rolls for each attunement path. One negative aspect of the attribute system is that you can get an attribute on an item that has nothing to do with your build, making it completely useless. For example, it is possible to get Silkbind attack on a sword item, which can only correspond to the Bell Strike path, meaning you get zero benefit from this attribute, even if it's in legendary quality, unless you use a Silkbind martial art as your secondary art. You want to target the attribute that corresponds to your chosen path. For example, in my case, I need to roll Bell Strike attack, nothing else. Let's move on to the enhanced system. This is a feature that allows you to essentially enhance your gear slots instead of your items. This means that all the upgrades you perform in this menu will apply to all items that you equip in these slots, regardless of their path or item type. These upgrades give you various stats depending on the slot type. Weapons and accessory slots give you min and max physical attack, armor slots give you max HP and physical defense, and the slots for bow and thumb ring cannot be enhanced. You also get an additional bonus stat if you reach a certain average enhancement level. For example, at my current state, which is average level 23, I get 2239 max HP. When I reach average enhancement level 25, I will get 3184 max HP. Gear enhancements are dependent on your item tier. So for example, an item of tier 51 can only be enhanced up to level 20, and in order to unlock the next 5 enhancement levels, you will need tier 56 items. The purpose of the system is not only to boost your stats, but it also helps you in case you want to change your build later, because you will keep the stats when you change your items. This is a very important system to always ensure you upgrade as much as possible, because you get very good stats from it. Now let's talk about the arsenal system. This is a system designed to make use of your unused or lower tier items whenever a level breakthrough happens. You can see that in my case, being at tier 56, I have unlocked the tier 41 and tier 51 arsenals. The way this works is by giving you min and max attack stats according to the path you have set in the arsenal menu, and you also get some max HP. If you select any of the arsenal tiers, you can see that you can add any type of gear piece in these slots, and each piece you add will increase the mastery of the arsenal. Each arsenal starts at tier 1 and can go up to tier 6. The higher your arsenal tier, the higher the stats you get from it. For example, you can see I am at tier 1 and I get 1 min Bell Strike attack and 3 max Bell Strike attack. If I select the weapon slot, I will see a list of all my level 1 to 50 weapons that are in my bag and the amount of mastery points that I get if I add these items. The game tells me that if I add this weapon in this slot, my arsenal tier will increase from 1 to 2, and I will then get 3 min Bell Strike attack and 7 max Bell Strike attack, which is higher than what I was getting at level 1. These items are sorted by default by highest to lowest, so you should always just add the first item at the top, or you can simply use the add all button and the game will automatically fill all the slots with the highest possible mastery items. You have to fill out all the available arsenals with all possible items until you reach tier 6 for each of them to ensure you get the highest possible stats. You can switch your arsenal path at any time depending on what path you are maining. You can choose between all the existing paths, which changes the min and max attack you get from the arsenal to that of the path you chose, for example Bell Strike or Stone Split. Additionally, if you are not following a specific path with both of your martial arts, you can choose to activate the general path, which gives you the same stats but without being specific to a certain path. You will lose some damage if you use this, but it's good if you are using a mix of two martial arts from the different paths. Lastly, we have to talk about the Divinecraft System, which gets unlocked at level 56. First off, what is Divinecraft? Divinecraft are essentially consumable enhancements that you can add to your weapon during combat that apply 1 out of 3 temperings to it, either fire, poison or water. You can find and equip these consumables to your quick use bar by going to the bag, switching to the develop tab and then going to quick use. Here you can see the slot for Divinecraft and you can equip either fire oil, aqua wax or toxic powder depending on your preferred Divinecraft. Going back to the Divinecraft menu, here is where you can basically enhance the effects of your Divinecraft consumables. You can see that there are 3 types of upgrade slots, one for upgrading the level, one for unlocking a strong additional effect, and the last one for increasing the duration of the Divinecraft tempering. Let's do a quick comparison of all 3 Divinecrafts. First we have the Fire Divinecraft, which consumes fire oil to increase the health damage that you deal, while also applying a damage over time burn dot. Each level upgrade you perform will increase the health damage of the Fire Divinecraft. The second skill slot will add another effect to the fire oil, which causes your consecutive attacks to trigger explosions. The third and final skill slot will increase the duration of your fire oil by 10 seconds. The Fire Divinecraft is a pure DPS focused enhancement. The Water Divinecraft also increases your health damage when consuming aqua wax, but much less than the fire oil. Instead, this one increases your resilience damage and applies a damage reduction debuff to enemies. It can also pierce through enemy shields. Each level upgrade you perform will increase the health damage and resilience damage of the Divinecraft. The second skill slot will add another effect to the aqua wax, which increases your interruption resistance while it is active. The third and final skill slot will increase the duration of your aqua wax by 10 seconds. The Water Divinecraft is more of a tank or support focused enhancement. The Poison Divinecraft deals the same health damage as the Water Divinecraft, except it also does chi damage and applies poison to the enemy, which deals additional health damage and chi damage over time. It can also break through the enemy's chi lock shield, which prevents them from losing chi. Each level upgrade you perform will increase the health damage and chi damage of the Divinecraft. The second skill slot will add another effect to the Toxic Powder, which allows you to deal damage 2 times when performing an execution. The third and final skill slot will increase the duration of your Toxic Powder by 10 seconds. The Poison Divinecraft is a DPS focused enhancement just like Fire, but with more focus on chi damage rather than upfront DPS. In order to unlock the second and third slots for any Divinecraft, you will need to upgrade the level to 3 and 5, using specific materials. If you select any of the materials, the game will show you on the map where you can gather these materials. You can get these easily by simply exploring the world and following the markers, and you get around 3 materials per flower collected, so it's easy to farm them. For every 1 piece of material you deliver, you get 500 XP, and you need 10,000 total for level 2, then 20,000 for level 3 and so on. That means 20 materials for level 2, 40 for level 3 and so on. Divinecraft level upgrade is scaling with your solo mode level, meaning you have to wait for future level breakthroughs to happen to upgrade all the way to the max level. Now that we are done with the gear tab, we can go back to the abilities tab to talk about inner ways and mystic skills. Starting with inner ways, which I already did an explanation video for, so if you want to deep dive into the system you should go and watch that, but I will do a short explanation here as well. Inner ways are essentially passives that correspond to the paths we talked about earlier, except they change the way your active skills work, not just give you stats. Looking at an example here, I have the Sword Morph equipped, which makes my charge attack release additional energy attacks instead of just 1. There are a total of 4 inner way slots and each path has 4 inner ways corresponding to it. It is generally recommended to have all 4 inner ways corresponding to your path equipped, unless they don't really fit your playstyle or if you are combining 2 martial arts from 2 different paths. Going back to the abilities tab, we have mystic skills. These are active skills which are not related to your martial arts or paths, and they can be used with any build. These are split into 6 categories: puzzle, area debuff, area damage, single target control, single target burst and support. The puzzle skills are important to have for completing various puzzles, quests or Divinecraft dungeons. The rest of the skills are used exactly for what their category mentions, either support, damage or control. Some of them are crucial for arena, while others can be used in all types of content. You should use these in between your martial arts skill rotations to get additional damage in. They don't consume stamina, but they consume a resource called vitality, which you can gain by performing various actions in combat, such as parrying. In the same screen you have general mystic skills, such as Touch of Death and Wind Sense, and movement skills such as Wall Run, Meteor Flight, and so on. These are unlocked naturally through gameplay, but they don't affect your build in any way. A few additional things on the right side: you will have your current build section, where you can see your total martial mastery, details, and improvement guide. The martial mastery represents the sum of all the power levels of your gear, skills, martial arts, and so on. You can increase this by performing upgrades or breakthroughs on gear, mystic skills, inner ways, and so on. This is important because there are certain systems in the game that require a certain martial mastery, for example certain talents. You can swap between the normal display of the martial mastery or the goose display, which is essentially how many geese multiplied by 10 does your martial mastery represent. You can see in my case I have 1340 goose, which means my power level is that of 1340 geese, which is not bad at all. Next, if you select details, you will be taken to the attributes tab, which shows all the stats of your character. Here you can check stuff like max HP, physical attack, critical rate, precision rate, and so on. I am not going to explain all of these because it would take very long, and you can simply see what each attribute means by selecting it. Here you can also check your exploration attributes such as elegance, constitution, and so on, and your exploration skills which help with exploring. One last thing before we move on, we have the improvement guide menu, which takes you to the path guide screen that we already talked about, but here you also have the development guide menu, which shows you how well your character, martial arts, gear, inner ways, and mystic skills are developed. You can check each category and it will tell you on the right side what things you should upgrade to increase your martial mastery even further. These aren't necessarily things that you must upgrade, especially the mystic skills, which you shouldn't upgrade all of them because they cost a lot of resources, but you should keep an eye on this screen to see what you can upgrade. Also take note of the build management and quick enhance buttons. Build management is where you can save multiple loadouts, and quick enhance is a system that basically auto enhances all the possible skills and martial arts. Now it's time to move to the final tab, which is the talents tab. Here we have the additional passives or active effects for your character, split into 3 categories. We have the basic talents, which give you stats and effects that your character can use anywhere. These also give you important unlocks such as a dual weapon skill, charged attacks, Divinecraft, death immunity, and many other crucial attributes. You can get talent points by farming enlightenment points, which you can receive from any type of quest and some open world activities. Next we have the arena talent tree, which only applies to the arena mode, and you can farm this by playing matches in the 1v1, 3v3 or 5v5 arena mode. You get strong stats and effects similar to the regular talent tree, which can really help you in PvP. And lastly we have the boss talent tree, which only applies for Hero's Realm and Sword Trial. This is crucial because you get crazy powerful stats and reward boosts that apply to these endgame modes, which make farming easier and much more efficient. You gain boss talent points by completing various challenges in the respective game modes indicated by the challenges. And with that being said, I think we have covered the entirety of the gear system in the game, at least what we currently have on global. I'm sure we will get many more gear systems in the future, but this is good enough for the moment. That would be it for this video. I hope this helps you understand the gear system better and how to get the most out of it. If you have enjoyed this video and found it useful, consider liking and subscribing because it will help support the channel and allow me to make even more content like this. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.